Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel. Nice to see you here today. I have a quick little idea for you today on how to turn an ordinary package into some cute little ephemera snippets. These snippets you can use to decorate your journal. You can include them in collages or other elements in your journal. You can also use them to decorate some labels, for example, where you have a date or a caption. Take these little snippets and add them there and make your label into something special. Of course, you can also include them into snippet rolls, for example, or other decorative elements for your junk journal. What do we need for making those snippets? You can use basically any package you can find. So this is a package obviously from some guitar strings, and this is a package which has like an emotional meaning for me. That is weird because it's a package. No, it's not weird because we are junk journaler. I think you understand what I mean. If you don't have a package that has a meaning, don't freak your freak, don't run away. Just go to your, or perhaps run away and run to your trash can, because I'm sure you can find something similar which you can use to make something like this. We additionally need some scissors, and that is all. You can do this whole project with a package and scissors and nothing else, then you are ready to go. But I will also show you some additional things you can use which are all optional. The first thing which you could use, and that is, as I said, optional, is some sandpaper. I will go into detail about that in a second. You can also additionally and optionally use some ink to ink your little snippets. And what you also could do is you could use some stamps and some ink to stamp. I will go into detail about why to use stamps as well in this video. So let's get started. I want to take this and I want to do this like strategically, holy cow, because I want to get the most out of this package. So let's start here on the right. Here's this little sticker. Oh, I thought I can remove it. Okay, okay, this doesn't want to be removed. Let's cut it here first. I already made the whole thing for my German video, and there this sticker was really easily removable. I have it here, wait, I will show you. It was like this. I had two packages of this thing, two guitar string packages like this, and this came off really easily in the German video with the second package, so I thought I could just peel it off here, but obviously it doesn't want to be peeled off. So let's just cut it out, because we do what the package tells us. First snippet done. Oh, this looks even more interesting than the other one. And I like to go with the folds that the package already have. Can you see there are these, perhaps here you can see it better, there are these folded lines, and I like to go along exactly there where it's folded with my scissors and just cut that apart. It makes sense for me, hopefully for you as well, to make two little piles of these things. One pile has the snippets with the writing, like numbers or some other writing. And on the other side here, I put the things which don't have anything on them. Here, again, I look what the package tells me, and it tells me to cut it here. Because two different colors, here's a line, it says cut me here. I found out that there are a lot of packages that tell you something and tell you where to cut somehow. You could leave this exactly like it is, then it would be a really big snippet, I would say. But you could also follow these little sections here and just cut this apart like so. And I found out that there are many packages which have these little sections. Also, like, you know, food packages have something like this often. And that is really great, because then we have an easy job to cut this apart. Look, done. This thing looks like it wants to be a tag. I have already made one in the German video, so then it looks like this. You could either cut the edges off so that you have this typical tag shape, or you could leave it like it is. Here, you could try to set an eyelet. Unfortunately, I don't have eyelets which are this big, but perhaps by coincidence, if you have a hole in your package like here, it could be that by coincidence your eyelets fit in here, but even if they don't fit, yeah, don't freak your freak. This is nice. This looks like a tag. Journaling space on the back, some space for decorative elements on the front. Done. So let's follow these lines here, where the package is folded, and let's first cut everything apart. Like so. This could also be something else in the journal, like for example a belly band or so. Look, if you glue this here and here, then you can tuck something behind. And I like to think about what this could be. Same thing with the tag a second ago, while I'm cutting this, because this has the advantage that you in the end have some pieces which are snippets, like these, some bigger things which could be turned into tags, pockets, belly bands, and so on, tuck spots. And with that, you have two things at the same time, which are then cohesive in the end when you put them all into the same journal. Then you have snippets and pockets and everything in the same color palette, because it's made from the same material. This I want to leave in the size it has, because we have the same words from this piece that we have just cut apart. Look, here it says acoustic, here as well. This is the same like this. This is the same like this, and so on. So we have the same elements already here in a little bigger scale. So we can leave this as it is, so that we then have the same writing, but a variation of the whole thing. This is wonky. So let me just cut this a little more straight. And even the tiniest pieces can be used in the journal later. Look, this is just so cute, and you would probably never get something like this by making it from scratch. I mean, how to get something like this, I don't know. I mean, if you are able to do it, then please do it. But I really like these. Yeah, I mean, this is a really simple idea, but I think that is really also a great idea, because this way you can use what you can find in your trash can. You have possibilities how you could use these things that have a meaning to you. And in the end, you have cool ephemera snippets made out of nothing. When I have them like totally finished, like these are, then they go into this little box here. Perhaps you have already seen this. If not, if you are perhaps new here on my channel, I will link some videos down below where I show you what this is, how I made this, and how I use this. In this little section here where it says snippets, I am collecting all of the things like snippets for my journal I'm working on. And then later on, when I decorate my journal, I can take my snippets from here, and I have a whole organization system that looks like a little cabinet. I have made this from an ordinary plastic organization system. There's also a video available on how I altered that little thing, so that you can watch that and of course do that as well for your craft room if you want. And the videos are linked down below, and this is meant for organizing the things I need for the journal I'm currently working on. And then I will do exactly the same here. I will cut all of these little elements apart. And I like to first, look, cut a bigger portion and then decide how small I want to cut that. I think, ooh, this would make sense. Let's cut this dark frame off. Ooh, holy moly. Like this. This I think I want to leave in the size it has. You could use this exactly like it is. You could say, okay, this is done. I take this and put that into my storage system. Everything I show now is optional. You could take a snippet and a sandpaper, like for example the sanding disc from Ranger. This is just a round sandpaper which you can attach to a blending tool and then sand with that. You could also take a normal sandpaper as well. There's not a big difference, but in my opinion there is a difference. This is really, really, really fine, and this is, I mean, I can't compare both of these because this is not as fine as this is. Of course, you could buy a sandpaper which is as fine as the sanding disc is, but the difference is the handling, I would say. This, of course, is really handy because you have this handle and you can then go around here to sand the edges. And I think you have a really good control over this. In my opinion, you have a more controllable result with this. And you can then have the edges distressed like this. With a sandpaper like this, where you don't have the handle, and please have in mind this is a little more rough than this. It's not the same sandpaper. But the result is also not so controllable. It's a little more grungy, I would say, if you do it like this. And I have the feeling, but that is only my personal opinion, that you have, how can I say that? With this, you have the feeling that you want to have it more grungy than with this. I use this for more controlled and more detailed sanding. And this, if I want to have more grunge. Does that make sense? I don't know. But you can compare this. And I have the feeling the rougher the sandpaper is, the less details you get, especially on those smaller snippets. Because, I mean, imagine a really, really extremely rough sandpaper and you make this, and then you have probably really big scratches with a really rough sandpaper. And I'm not so sure if you want to have those big scratches. Yeah, because we want to have a tiny, cute little thing. And for that, I would prefer to use, yeah, a really fine sandpaper like this is, or like this is, so that this gets detailed. And you know, that the scratching is really tiny and cute as well. Does that make sense? I have absolutely no idea. In my brain, it makes sense. Hopefully, you can understand what I mean. But please do whatever you want and whatever you like. And if you perhaps can't handle the dust that comes with sanding these pieces, don't freak your freak. Yeah, just skip this step. Just do something else. You don't have to freak out if you don't have sandpaper or if you can't handle the dust, because these things we use them because they have a meaning for us, and I use this in my journal because it has an emotional worth to me, no matter if this is sanded or not. Yeah, that makes no difference, but it of course looks a little more artsy if you have a distressed outline or edge around this. I think this looks way more artsy and somehow more creative than something like this. I mean, this is just the naked material, but of course, the emotional meaning is not more or less with this or that. Yeah. So if you can't handle dust, perhaps this is an alternative. Take your scissors and go along the edges like this, then you can get a distressed look as well. Please be careful that you don't hurt yourself with these tiny pieces and your scissors. And the effect is, yeah, no, I don't want to say similar because it is not similar at all. Oh my goodness, I've blown it away. Look, I mean, both are distressed, but it's a totally different effect, isn't it? But this would be an alternative if you can't handle the dust from the sanding or if you don't have sandpaper. Another alternative, if you don't want to stress yourself with these things, would be to ink. Woo! What is going on here today? You could ink the edges of your snippets. But please make sure that you check the material first. On this package, there are some areas which are really shiny because they are coated with something. These orange elements are really shiny, so that means that this kind of ink can't dry on this material. That's what I'm trying to point out. Even this, it's not that shiny, but it is coated as well. Please make sure that you either have that in mind, or if you don't have the experience with your mediums and the materials you use, just test it. Just take the ink you have, no matter which ink it is, go over this, wait a few seconds, and then go over that with your finger, and you will immediately see if it can dry on there or not. If you have distress ink or distress oxide ink, you know, or if you didn't know it yet, you know it now, it can't dry on such a glossy coated surface. So what you would have to do is either take your sandpaper, sand around it, and remove this coating, because what I'm doing here is nothing else than scratching this coating off, and now this white edge is the pure paper and it's porous here now. So that means you can take your ink, either distress ink or distress oxide ink or whatever ink you might have, even watercolor, coffee, or whatever would work on here now, and this can dry now. So that means if you want to use such an ink, you would need to either sand this, or you could also do the thing with the scissors. This is the one where I went around the edges with my scissors. But the main thing is you have to remove the coating and this slippery stuff, you know, so that you have the pure paper where this kind of ink can dry. If you can't handle sandpaper or the dust of sandpaper or whatever, or you don't want to use your scissors for distressing the edges, there's also a solution, of course. Use another kind of ink. So if you say, okay, I have something which is coated, use, for example, archival ink or STAY-ON ink or another ink which is made for using on such a material, because if you go around with such an ink on a coated slippery kind of thing, this could dry. Yeah, you would have no problems with this. I mean, it would take a few minutes to dry, but it can dry on here. So that means you could even skip the step with the sandpaper or the scissors. Don't distress the edges, but just ink them with an ink which can dry on such a glossy surface like this is. Another thing is, perhaps you have a packaging which doesn't have so many interesting writings or sayings or whatever, yeah? These all look interesting, but what if you had a package that you want to use that doesn't have all of this, but which looks like this. Perhaps you have something where you say, okay, I have these little pieces which I want to use, but I don't have the writing. What to do? Very easy. Let's compare this. This is the same material, the same color, but now it has a different surface. This is rough, porous because of the sanding. This is still slippery because it's coated. So that means you could use archival ink on this, or of course also STAZON ink on this. But you could help yourself by sanding it if you only have distress ink or distress oxide ink for stamping. Does that make sense? And then you can take these empty pieces and a stamp set. I've chosen this for two different reasons. This is the Titbits CMS 488 stamp set by Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz. I've chosen this on the one hand because it has all of these little tiny things, which you could use if you don't have something like this, which is already like this, do you know? And the second reason is this stamp set came out during a time which has to do with my journal. Yeah, so it has from the release date a connection to my journal. Yeah, does that make sense? So now we can choose, let's choose the number 13 here. It has also a meaning. And you could now stamp on this and use distress ink or oxide ink, and because of the sanding this could dry. This could dry on here. You could now either cut this off because of this empty space. I don't like that so much. You could leave it, of course, as well. You could also take a punch and punch a hole. Oh, that is very tiny. You could additionally set an eyelet in here if you want. Or what I also could imagine is take a stapler and just do it like this. Then it looks also really interesting. We could also, again, where's my blending tool now? Here. Try to go in here and ink this little hole a little bit. To also additionally go around here a little bit to make that a little more interesting, like this. And on an empty piece like this, where we have the glossy coating, we could take archival ink to stamp. And then we also would have a nice piece and no problems with the ink to dry, because this will dry on here. And of course, if you don't have a stamp set like this one is, go through the stamp sets you have and look what you have. Yeah, that sounds a little weird, but I'm sure you can find elements from the stamp sets you have. Even if you don't have this one, you can find little elements that you can use for something like this. And here, especially with the black on this really dark purple, and you can see there are these little dots, which makes this really busy. But even with black on such a busy and pretty dark background, this has something interesting in my eyes, because imagine you make some of your snippets like backgroundish. This is a more backgroundish snippet for me. And this one is a more foregroundish snippet, because imagine you would piece them together like this in your journal. Then you have the perfect little element. This is a collage made from two pieces, but it is a collage, isn't it? Imagine this on a page. Yeah, that could look really, really interesting. Imagine this was on a junk journal page already, and you would take this and just glue that there. you would have the perfect little pocket. I mean, I would probably ink this, and this is not very accurate, but I think you can imagine what I mean. And I think this is perhaps not the right color here, but perhaps you can imagine what I mean. Let's take perhaps this little piece, which we have had in mind for making either a belly band or a little tuck spot or whatever. Here I think it would look better in combination with this. This is a more clean look, I would say. But imagine you would include something like this, which is more grungy. Well, this is perhaps not the perfect combination, but can you imagine what I mean? Perhaps, let's say you would break this with another material. For example, like this. Take a little piece of lace or perhaps cheesecloth or something similar and put that in between of these elements. Then it suddenly looks great, doesn't it? Oh, I love these little pieces. And yeah, with these you can then play around and of course combine them with different other materials like lace or little pieces of some nylons. This is cut off from some nylons. You could also take some other materials. These are some petals from some roses. It was originally something like this. Then you have a cute little element which you can then include in your journal, and you can basically use everything you want. Yeah, look, these are the tiniest little pieces. That is nothing else than leftovers. Let's say you have something that fits the color scheme of your journal, put that on there and you have the perfect thing. And you could of course go even further and take more pieces and make collages, pockets or whatever you want. I hope that this was a little idea for you, which could be, yeah, something that you want to do in your next journal. I will put all of these in here into my little section of my organization system where it says snippets, so that I then can use them in my journal. And by the way, here happened a lot off camera without you, because as you can imagine, I cannot film everything I do here, even if I try my best to do that. But in the meantime, some of my little drawers got a little empty. For example, the one for die cuts and stickers and focal points and quotes. In the meantime, it looks like this. If you follow my channel, you know that this was full a few days ago. Also, some of the other drawers are empty now because I have this on my desk. It's still loose pages. Yeah, I don't have a cover yet, but this is my journal. Well, this is going to become my journal. Have a very, very great and creative day and fun with this little snippet idea, and see you the next time. Bye bye.